I think that was the first time I properly surrendered. It was the first time I went, I have to just actually fucking look at how I feel and what do you actually want to do right now? And I looked at my material and I went, I do not want to do any of this. I want to be fun. I want to be surprising. I want to make a show that I want to have so much fun with. And I threw it all away.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy. With yours truly, Michael Kahan.
Welcome back. I hope everyone had a wonderful festive period and a beautiful start to the year. Today's guest is a special man. His honesty and authenticity is to be admired. A lightness and positivity that is simply awesome. I love his self-awareness and growth mindset, in particular, how he's transformed his comedy over time, asking the difficult questions and leading to great results. It's rare and it's beautiful. He's also a kind-natured man with great enthusiasm and an openness and vulnerability that is refreshing and empowering to hear. I love his energy and I had an incredible time chatting with David. He has an interesting story, especially in his journey in finding comedy. Just a great, all-round, a lovely chat. Okay, let's get into it. David Correos is an award-winning stand-up comedian as well as an actor. He's the winner of the Billy T Award in 2016, Best Newcomer at the Sydney Comedy Festival in 2024, as well as being nominated for the prestigious Best Show Fred Award at the 2021 New Zealand International Comedy Festival. He continues to establish himself as one of New Zealand's best. David's appearances on Taskmaster New Zealand and Guy Mont's Spelling Bee have seen his popularity soar in recent years. He's well known for putting his body and mind on the line for entertainment. David continually pushes the boundaries of comedy and presents some of the most absurd performances ever seen. He has a number of shows across Australia, so check them out. Their links are in the episode notes. Here's a short blurb. The New Zealand comic is taking the world by storm. David Correos is back with his new show, Noise Zealand, combining the powers of comedy and rave into 1 hour of chaotic fun. So as you can imagine, we dive deep and we cover a lot and we chat about his 51-hour stream, shock comedy, making profound shifts, Taskmaster, his new upcoming comedy shows, collaborating, magic, Olympic weightlifting, plus plenty more. Before we get into this epic chat, in case you aren't aware, the videos are now available on YouTube under Michael Kahan. That's Kahan with a K, unless you're listening to it already. I'll still be posting snippets of these chats on Instagram under Funny in Failure, so check them out if you want to stay in the loop for upcoming episodes, or you want to ask a guest a question. I'd also love it if you would share the podcast or share your takeaways from the chat. It really motivates me, helps the podcast grow, and ensures I can lock in amazing guests like this one. And just as a final reminder, the podcast comes out at 3:30 Melbourne, Australian time, with the full video of the podcast to be released the following day. Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's get into it. Can you tell me about your famous 51-hour stream? Tell me about it. Would you do it again? Why did you do it?
Oh, wow. I did a 51-hour stream because I got a phone call from my manager and he was like, David, look, you've sold 4 tickets to this show in 3 days. Can you do some kind of social media push? And I just remember hearing 4 tickets and going, no, I can't do this. What can I do? And then I went, if I need to come up with some kind of stunt to just sell tickets. And right there on that phone call, I was like, okay, I'm going to stream until I sell out the show. And it worked. I didn't sell out the show, but I sold like 60. I think I sold like 60 tickets in 3 days. And I didn't really have a following at that time. Like people knew who I was, but it wasn't like, that was hard for me.
That's still very impressive. Off a live stream, 60 tickets.
I feel like a couple of them were also like just pity tickets.
You'll take it.
I'll take it. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's all good. I'll definitely do that. But yeah, Yeah, and it worked. I'll never do it again, but I'm glad that I proved to myself that stunt works.
That first of all, to think of it on the spot. So you just get this call from your manager, and he's like, "I need you to think of something," and you just pull out this rabbit out of a hat. Had you been thinking about it before, or just it was divine consciousness came to you, and you're like, "I have to do this. This is what I got to do."
I think it's I'm really good under pressure. I think I'm good under pressure, and I also have a desperation that will push me a bit further than most people. So if I have like a big idea, like kind of like streaming for 51 hours, I'm like, yeah, I can commit to that because I don't mind getting hurt. I don't mind punishing myself if I know it's going to be entertaining. And I don't know if that was entertaining, but it was like, it's so cool that you brought it up on a podcast. Like that moment for it to be remembered, I'm like, that's all I want.
I also want to know, was it 51 hours? First of all, I think it's really awesome and creative, and we'll get back into the other stuff you said because you said it's very interesting. Was it 51 hours straight? Like, how did you keep yourself like entertained, eat and drink? Did you take breaks? Like, how does it work?
It was really nuts. So obviously I can't film while I'm sleeping. So what I would do is I would leave the camera on until my phone died. And then the moment I woke up, I'd recharge my phone and then I would start the stream from there. And I had a power bank. I had like 2 power banks going. And I remember just trying to come up with ways to like kill time. I went to the gym at one point and streamed myself going to the gym. Nothing funny was happening.
I bet you're an OG influencer if you're doing that back in the day.
Yeah, dude. 2019 was crazy, bro. And I think with showering, I think I did a couple of shower streams, but I had my underwear on, I think, for the whole time. Or I think I had one where I was naked, but like it was just the upper part of my body.
Do you watch The Simpsons?
Yes.
Do you know that when Homer's trying to get Ned back in the dating scene and he films him in the shower and he like bleeps out his schlong, which is like a meter, like the half the size of his body? Should have done something like that.
Mine was 1 pixel.
Oh, that's so good. And then what was the feeling like afterwards? You said you're really proud of yourself. Was it just like sleep for the next few days, like you achieved?
I cried. I cried afterwards because that was when I realized. So I was with my ex at the time, and what that made me realize like how selfish it is if I do these stunts, how it affects the people around me.
Oh,
and
interesting.
It was kind of interesting because it forced me to be on for 51 hours. And it meant that my ex had to also experience me being on for 51 hours. And that was quite isolating for her. Like, she was like, because, you can't have a proper conversation. You can't you can't get intimate. And intimacy in the sense of like just being able to, bring all your walls down and just have a normal conversation and kind of be quiet. I was always on. And then I think after that whole experience, I was like, very tired, and it ended up we had an argument afterwards because she was like, hey, that was pretty selfish to like just jump into that. And so I guess that was the lesson there. Like that was the real lesson, was like an awareness of like, hey, I can't just run wild with these ideas. I have to take other people into account.
That first of all, thank you for saying that. That was so beautiful, because it's like, one, you could get angry or you could not admit it or you don't want to like look into it, but to realize, that's a wonderful insight. I love that you realize that, there's more to it than just the stream. Very big of you to look deep within as well. So has that changed how you are with your energy, like moving forward?
Yeah. I feel like at that time I was going through this really weird phase where I was kind of trying to add more depth to my stand-up. I think a lot of that was like the one dimension was just me doing a lot of stunts and me going as hard as possible. And then I feel like that moment added to the depth, because it kind of made me a lot more aware of like, hey, look, yeah, you can do the stunts and people celebrate it, but like, what are the repercussions of this? But the main moment in there was, I had one of my mentors watch one of my shows, like just as a rehearsal, and he posed a question to me. He was like, David, why are you the loveliest person off stage, but when you're on stage you're trying to push people away like as much as possible?
Wow.
What's happening there? And yeah, that just like it just changed my mindset a little bit in the sense that I started being a bit more self-reflective and realizing, hey, every show's not just a party. Hey, every show's not just about trying to be funny. It's like, how do you get more depth? I think that was the thing I was looking up to with the comics I looked up to. I was like, why? How can they reach these moments? I'm trying to write. I'm trying to do the comedy. I'm trying to get like the punchlines better and trying to get the applause breaks, but it still doesn't feel as good as what they're doing. And I think it was just depth. And so,
Wow.
yeah.
Beautiful. That is so awesome. I'm glad that you have the mentor. You can name and praise, not name and shame if you want.
Yeah. Name praise. Yeah, Derek Flores, El Jaguar. He's an amazing comic, an amazing improv wrestler who does amazing comedy, and he will also psychoanalyze the shit out of you and then put it in front of you and then make you go, okay, what do I need to work on?
Improv wrestler. Let's pigeonhole that because that I've never seen that before, and that sounds awesome. What a good question. And also for you, once again, and I'm going to try not to suck up to you because it's very hard. I'm looking amongst like half my friends group. Some look deep within and there's no judgment whatsoever. And some are very scared. If we ask a question to some, and I'm also probably the same as well, it can be very scary and very daunting. I'll be like, yeah, I hear you, but you don't actually hear them. For you to actually take on that question and make a positive change is so awesome. I love this stuff. Good on you. And also such a deep question as well. So how did that kind of change you moving forward? Obviously changed your comedy, but it probably changed also you as well.
Yeah, it made me, I think at that point, it made me realize, okay, I think the main thing it made me realize was, I think before that point, I was seen as a shock comic. Like a lot of it was shock based. And it just made me kind of like sit in there and go like, why are you doing all this shock comedy? And also, why don't you label it as shock comedy to yourself? Like, why would you never call yourself a shock comic? Like all the extreme stuff I do is like, no, it's not for that. For me, I was justifying it by going like, I want to do stuff on stage that you can't see on YouTube. I want to do stuff that's not accessible online and that can only exist like in the room. But the only volume that I had was the shock factor. Like that was the only way I knew how to go higher. And so by like looking into myself and like realizing why am I doing these things, I realized I was trying to hit surprise the whole time. I was trying to hit surprise and I think with shock, you don't get the delight, but I've always wanted like the delight there. And that's what surprise kind of brings. And so I spent like the next year just trying to shift from being shocking to being more surprising. Because I always thought that like the best comedy was if I was hitting my 10, like if the scale hitting the 10s and 11s. But it's like, nah, it's way more fun hitting the nuances of like the 5s, the 6s, bringing it back down to 2, bring it back to 8. And it's just, and now I love contrast. So that's where I love to play now.
Oh, so you've grown in multiple ways. I love that growth. And did it become more enjoyable for you to perform after that as well?
Massively. Yeah, massively. And I just like noticed how much more accessible all my stuff became. And I have people that will come to my shows and be like, oh man, you're not as wild like as you used to be. And I'm like, isn't that like, in my head, I'm like, isn't that great? Like, isn't it great that I've shown growth? But isn't it also great that you got to see me at a time that no one else is ever going to see? Like, isn't that? But yeah. And so that's something I kind of think about. And also I'm like, I also don't regret all of the shocking stuff that I did on stage, all the wild stunts I did, because I'm like, okay, cool. Now I have references no other comics can play with. They don't know what it feels like to go that far. I do. And now I can rein it in. And it's so fun. Just feels like I'm playing with a wider range.
And that's what people love to see. I love to see a performer, whether it's comedy or music or whatever, seeing the growth, seeing the evolution. That's so exciting because that's what I see life as. Is growth and, evolving. And also when a comedian loves it and you can feel that they're having fun, that is so great. That it also like, not that you were doing this before, I've seen your comedy before as well. I've seen all the videos and everything and I've heard all the comedians. You're a comedian's comedian.
Really?
As well, which is the ultimate compliment. But to just, I lost my train of thought, but that is such a nice experience when you can just see a comedian having fun and playing. You can sit back and relax. Whereas not that you weren't doing this before, but when you see other comedians not have fun, you can feel it. It adds another layer of not being able to enjoy. I just want to sit back and enjoy. And I know that if you're going to perform, you're safe, you're fine, you know what you're doing. And that's like part of the growth and the evolution.
Yeah, and I think it's like when you see that, it's looking at the older comics that view their material as work, or view their material or getting on stage as a speed hump to being able to drink and party and network and have fun and socialize. I don't want to be that. Like I remember when I was at that point, but like now it's like, oh nah, being on stage is the funnest part. I can't wait to get on stage and try this thing, or analyze it, and just I love it. It's better than drugs. Like it's so much fun.
Wait, that's gonna be the
and
quote.
I love both of them.
I want to make that the quote of the podcast: better than drugs. Yeah. But it also sounds like, and I know this is a hard question because you're a humble guy, but it sounds like not only have you looked deep within yourself, but also looked within your ego and changed that relationship. Because a lot of people when they're first starting out, and I think you've spoken about like wanting laughs and you wanted everyone to love you as well, which is very natural. And we all do it, especially as a stand-up comedian. But it sounds like you've changed that relationship with your ego on stage, and you've made it a bit more about, you and playing and having fun. And it's not just about doing whatever it takes to get that laugh at the expense of yourself.
Yeah. I'm really good friends with Demi Lardner, and we both share the same philosophy where like we want to see someone get hurt for fun, and we both love the humor and like physical violence, but it's got to be directed at us. Like everyone has to feel safe in the audience, and so it's like we're the ones who have to be the target, and it's like I'm fine with that, and I'm fine to push that. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
No, I love that, and I you've also got a unique working relationship with Demi. We've had her husband Tom on, and he is very funny. I feel like your comedy styles, at least a few years, were actually quite similar. I know he's probably more in like the clowning space, but I could see a lot of like the energy stuff that you guys did. But I haven't seen him perform in a while. And a few years ago.
Beat Boop was like inspirational. I went to Beat Boop when I was, and I got the recommendation of Stuart Goldsmith. I was like, who are the best ones to check out? And he was like, Aaron Chen, Tom Walker. And then I went to Tom's show and I screamed the whole way through of that show. It was so amazing. The baby do a trick and slam it on the table, on the chair, I screamed, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize you could do this. And so to see the similarities is like a massive compliment. I love it.
He's got also, and you do as well. You guys have got such a unique style, and I want to talk about your upcoming shows in a bit because it's going to blow my mind. But just while I'm on this train of thought, going back to the fun, you were on Will Anderson's podcast. I'm not sure when, and you were talking about philosophies, and one of your philosophies was about like chasing fun. And I think that's so unique, and you've got a very unique upbringing as well. But a lot of people don't have the courage to chase fun. They think we need to, work a job. You're not allowed to have fun. It should be illegal. At least with me, I was indirectly, I couldn't work a job that would be fun. And now that seems like it's your life pursuits, but in a healthy way. I love that. Can you tell me more about it?
Oh, I think I needed I think I'm very lucky because I had a lot of external validation. A lot of people kind of gave me the thumbs up, like, hey, when you have fun, that's a good thing. And it kind of like the validation was like both like financial and like through like my own like self-esteem as well. And so to have the confidence to be able to follow fun, I know it took a long time to get to that point. Because I remember like being asked a question from someone who was watching me. This was when I was still doing like crazy stunts on stage. They were like, David, you've just like sculled a liter of milk and you've put yourself through so much pain. Like how? And they've got so much glee behind their words. Yeah. And they're just going, how are you going to top yourself? Like, what are you going to do next? And I just remember like wrestling with that and going like, oh crap, I don't think I can. And then like wrestling with the weird idea of like, will I draw blood on stage? Am I fine drawing blood for comedy? Or like going like, does it have to be more shock towards nudity? Like how far do I take nudity? Like, do I have to get a stiffy on stage? Top myself the next time? and I didn't, and every time I looked at it, I didn't get excited. I didn't get excited by those things. And I think that's what pushed me. And I think that was the first time I was really starting to wrestle with like, I need to follow fun. Like I can't follow what everyone else is telling me that they expect from me. I need to take a hard pivot. And I think also like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of you learn a lot more about fun by suffering, and so like I, as much as fun is great, I think suffering and failing makes the compass for figuring out the direction of fun way more clear and way more concise. And so I don't mind putting myself through some hard shit.
Beautiful. You're speaking my language. And I've got two potential points as well.
Mm.
Edinburgh. I think you've been there a few times as well. And I think this was the second time. I might be getting the timeline wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I think the second time you went to Edinburgh, it wasn't as good as you wanted it to be. And you took reviews
Oh,
personally.
this was my the third time. This is the third time back. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think you started drinking during shows and you had to have a bit of a shift and it wasn't as fun. So I'd love to know kind of the journey there and how you've, flicked the switch, because Edinburgh, a lot of eyes, a lot of expectations. I think you then later go to Adelaide and you said it was kind of like similar. It didn't go as well as you wanted it to. Very brave to make some shifts. So I'd love to know about it.
So Adelaide was first. Adelaide was the hardest. Oh my gosh, it was such a hard festival. The people who were turning up loved it, but the people, I got a 1-star review and a 4-star review on the same night. And it was a shame that the 1-star was from the advertiser.
I have my issues with reviews, but that's so funny. That just explains reviews in a nutshell. But sorry, continue.
No, and I just remember like reading that, going like, what are some people seeing? What are some people not seeing? That show was still quite crazy, and that was following up to the lead up of the Edinburgh Fringe. What was interesting there was Edinburgh Fringe was so good. Like so many people really enjoyed it. I started to make a name for myself within the comedian spheres of being like this intense guy that will do things that other comedians don't even want to touch. Like, but still kind of shocking. And so it like tickled something in them. And I'm so grateful for that. Right. And it kind of put me down a road of thinking, oh, this validates the bad times that I had in Adelaide. If I push through the bad times in Adelaide, those reps will affect how well I go in Edinburgh. And so that kind of justified like, hey, I'm all good to punish myself. And then after that year, after Edinburgh, I was so worried because I was like, I don't know how to top my stunts. So the next year I went, okay, hard pivot. I'm doing just a joke show, because in my head, I felt like everyone else wasn't going to take me seriously because I had a lack of punchlines and I didn't. And I had to rely on these big stunts. And that was, that was in my head. I was telling myself, oh, that's hack. Everyone thinks you're hack. And then I almost like, I would take what my friends would say about other comedy and then almost insert myself into what they were saying to like believe these myths that they didn't enjoy what I did because I had no punchlines, and that they were secretly behind my back just going like, David's like, okay, people enjoy it, but it's not real comedy.
Yeah.
And so that was why I did the hard pivot into just doing stand-up the next year. And I just did stories. When I was doing the stunt show, to add to the chaos, I also drank a bottle of red wine in the first 20 minutes of the show. So I would do it like steamed. And I liked that because there's a performance art element of watching a man slowly get drunker on stage. And it was not necessarily about me being like, whoa, this is chaotic, but it was this idea of like watching the growth of a man kind of unwind on stage. That's what I find really interesting about that. But obviously those ways of working just really highlighted how much of a problem it was when you start doing it and you have to say words and you have to be slick. Yeah. But I still took those devices into the next show because I would use them to try flyer. I'd get drunk while flyering, and then I'd try to get more drunk on stage because I thought like, oh yeah, have them watch me scull a red wine really fast on stage. That'll get a big pop at the start and then make my jokes all good. Yeah. And then it just unraveled like badly. And then I was getting like 2 people a night. And then on one of the nights, I had a reviewer in, and that was the show where I had a breakdown. And so I had a reviewer watch me have a breakdown on stage. And it was not fun.
Good on you, Juan. I'm really impressed with your self-awareness. Like not little, but big bits of you saying like you were punishing yourself or you're doing these things or is the line drawing blood or am I having fun? There's this journey of you and you're going to keep on continuing of learning along the way. And also to say you don't have regrets. That to me is not just an artist journey, that's a human journey. To go, it may have not gone to plan, but how did I grow and learn from this? And then, bring more joy and fun, which I think is pretty much the key to life. I love that as well. So after that breakdown with the reviewer, what did it look like picking yourself back up, like to bring back the joy in comedy? Because I'm sure that would have been hit as well, and maybe your self-worth and probably other things as well.
Oh, I spiraled pretty bad actually. So after that year, the venue that got me on board, they sent my manager an email being like, "Hey, look, I don't think we want to have David come through back for next year. Can we please give him 2 years to just really get a show together running?"
Yeah.
And I think that was a real massive hit to my ego as well and my self-esteem. But thankfully, this little thing called COVID happened. So none of that mattered. And at that point, I was like, I don't know. I was stuck in that energy. I was stuck in that energy over COVID that like, okay, I've hit a roadblock. The failure's massive. I thought I could write stand-up. Turns out I can't write stand-up. And so I kind of just sat in that. I was like playing around with Twitch because I saw my friends started getting into Twitch. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is the avenue that I go through. And I was like, yeah, I'll be happy just being like a 20-minute comic, just going around, but maybe look, trying to become successful and like whatever, like fame and all that kind of shit. Maybe that's not on the cards. Just like pivot.
Yeah.
And then I got Taskmaster New Zealand, and that fucking changed my life.
Amazing.
And it's just sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I'm just going to say people talk about that here as well. I know we've got our Taskmaster and you've got your New Zealand Taskmaster, but that just sounds like it transformed you in so many ways as well.
It was massive. Yeah. No, it was so massive to just like get that opportunity. And I remember like getting the email and being like, oh, I think this is it. I think because I had people beforehand that watch my stunts and be like, yo, have you heard of the show called Taskmaster? Like, you'd be pretty good on it, because they were like, you would do some cooked stuff on it. And they weren't wrong.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of the videos as well. Hilarious. Is it all on the fly? Do you Whoa.
No, it's all on the fly. And it's crazy. It's crazy how much that show, I'm so grateful that the show tapped into my actual brain rather than being in this mode of like having to put on a performance every single time. And I think like, thank God to the editors. I think the editors made me look really good.
It's like kind of the opposite, but still the same of what you're saying. Like when I wanted to pursue stand-up and I was writing jokes, I thought there was something wrong with me because I've got all these ideas and I can't just quite get it out. I've never actually properly pursued stand-up. But I'm like, what am I going to do with all these ideas? I couldn't actually write it as a joke form. Well, I never really tried. But then when I discovered screenwriting, I could use those jokes and write it in a completely different way. But I thought I was a failure because I always had comedy aspirations and I couldn't do stand-up comedy. But then I found an avenue which I think I can thrive in my own way. Obviously, you can still do the comedy and the stand-up, but Taskmaster allowed you to see you and what you can bring to the table and how funny you are. And it would have brought up so much positive stuff and self-image I think you've spoken about before. And I'm so happy you had that opportunity to just realize, you're actually really good. And this was an avenue for you to thrive as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I think while we were recording it, I didn't know if it was a good or not. I was so scared in the studio. I look back and I'm like, in the studio, I screamed a lot because I was scared that I wasn't filling the room with anything quality. So I was just trying to get myself into the show. And it's crazy how like the lower parts where I was just being present and like having fun with it, those are actually the best. Those are the parts that like actually worked so well. I just want to quickly go back. When you were talking about going from stand-up into screenwriting, what are the different parameters of screenwriting that allowed you to actually have like play and have fun that didn't exist in stand-up?
That is such one. I haven't done stand-up like nearly enough times to like properly explore it, but the idea of the way that I wanted to do stand-up, I know there's many different ways and you can do many different ways as well. But from a stand-up point of view, I made most of it, even if we're just performing at my house or saying to friends or even doing like improv when you had to do a bit. I made it all about learning the lines, and that when your focus is purely in the lines, I found that took away from the comedy, and I tried to like rote learn, which wouldn't have been the best way for me. But with the writing aspect, I can paint the whole picture. I can put a gag in the back. I can have characters say different things. I can have a straight man. I could add so many different elements. I can create this whole world. Whereas for me, I can't do that as one person. Like I need a whole team. And that's why I also love screenwriting, because there's the collaboration side. So it's more creating this world. There wasn't the pressure. I don't want to get up on stage and perform. Maybe one day, but it's just that I could probably write a thesis about it, but that was probably the main bit. I could create this own world. I can explore within myself. It's fresh. I also didn't love the idea of getting up on stage, and this shows I wouldn't have had the work ethic for stand-up. Get up on the stage and like for like 3 years, like finally get like one good bit and then keep on going. That's a long but short answer.
No, that's so beautiful. I love that. And so it sounds like for you for screenwriting, it's a longer process. Like, is that for you? Is it like percolating more, being able to like sit in it and then like color the world in?
Exactly. Well, much better said than me. There's so much to it. You can come back, you can change it as you can in stand up. But then I like seeing the theme, and I guess that with a longer form show, you can do this as well. I see it as very similar. Just this works with I don't need an audience to at this stage, look at me and potentially, steer me off the path for now. I love it, but I love the collaborating. I love working with other people. That's why I love
that. Yeah, I find it so interesting because with stand-up, like kind of one thing I've kind of learned recently is like it's a conversation, and you're pretty much just every joke is you're kind of just throwing a line to get a response from them to give back, and then that's what you're using to direct it with. Yeah. I feel like with screenwriting, you're taking away that conversational element, and that's a pressure that like if you take that away, you're able to just percolate and kind of color, and then be like, nah, here's what I was trying to make.
Well said.
Here's all of the pieces that I have. When you have someone having a conversation, you're bombing, you're freaking you're worried about like, hey, was that the right choice? Was that not? That's like, that's so sick. You just get
screenwriting for what it sounds like. It's a safer avenue. I have so much respect for stand-up comedians. It is, as everyone can tell, like the podcast just started off with stand-up comedians. What you guys are able to do and get up, especially like after a bomb, we spoke about Edinburgh and Adelaide, to take that and to sit with it, especially, you had that, which all comedians have, all the best comedians go through ups and downs, but then you had COVID, so you're sitting in it and then you're smiling, talking about your craft. You love your craft. Taskmaster was a gift in that sense to, make you realize that you're actually really funny and really good at what you do. But, sit with that journey. A lot of people can't do that. And we've spoken about a lot of people can't sit with their emotions, but you're sitting with your emotions. You're sitting with you're reevaluating how you want to do comedy, to do all of that and still continue and move forward. That is so beautiful. That's inspiring to me. That is so hard. Not many people would be able to continue after all of that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. No. It made a point of like, okay, so last night I was at kick-ons at like 3 a.m. and I was having a massive conversation with my friend. They're also in theater. And it kind of just made me realize, because I'm always about like data, like what is data that I can use around my life that I can then use to inform my stand-up to make it more interesting. And also like to just find where my blind spots are and where I need to like maybe think about more and just kind of like confront more. And one that was really interesting was realizing that the relationships that you have with audience can also mirror the relationships you have in your life. And so so what I'm thinking about now is going like, if I work on the relationships in my life and I make that smoother, or I work it into a way where it's what I really want, I can then translate that onto stage. And so it's just all like quiet work. It's like quiet work that I'm doing off stage, so that on stage it works even better.
I wouldn't say that's epic. You kind of, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you've spoken, maybe it was actually on Will Anderson's, that at one stage, I'm not sure if you're still in that world as well, but you had more potentially a spiritual, holistic outlook, or you're looking into that as well. It sounds like everything's kind of a mirror. Well, that's my way of perceiving it, where when things are going well in your life, or you look at certain things within you, then the performance, then the art grows as well. That's how I see it. Am I putting words in your mouth, or how do you?
Oh, no, that's exactly it. No, that's exactly it. And it's, again, I didn't realize that until kind of last night. So it's a really new thought that I'm just like kind of percolating on.
Cool.
And so I'm excited to see where this thought kind of goes as I talk to more people about
Those are the best conversations. I remember, I don't do it anymore, but when I used to like go drinking with like my best friend, and we'd come back home because we live next to each other, and we'd speak from like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. like for a few hours and just discuss the universe and our relationship in it and how we can grow. Probably only remember half of it, but it was so inspiring. You just felt like you could do anything. Those are the best conversations. So I'm also glad that you can have that, and you've got friends or friendships as well. That's how you save lives. You save the world's problems.
Yeah, I love having those conversations while having wonky knees. It's always the best. After it's like, okay, guys, I'm gonna have to climb the stairs to get to the toilet, guys. That's crazy.
Oh, that's great. And pivoting to the fearless side as well, you know, it sounds like you're coming from fear as well. How and you come across also individually and within your art form as fearless. So after Taskmaster, did it unleash this like fearless? You can do it. You've got it. Like, tell me a bit more about it.
Yeah. Oh, the fearlessness. I found after Taskmaster, it made me realize that I had another side of me that I could also show. So for so long, I thought I just had to push the aggressive, hectic side because I had to meet the audience with an energy that they would reflect back. And what the end goal was, I wanted to crush. I wanted to crush as hard as possible. So I had to bring the energy of somewhat of what it feels like to crush. And I thought that was just going as hard out and as aggressive as possibly can. They'll meet me there. I think Taskmaster made me realize, oh no, I can be a lot more earnest on stage. I can be just who I am more on stage. I can be like scatterbrained and like lean into like the failure more. Because I enjoyed failure, but I enjoyed it in the sense of like a Charlie Chaplin failure where like the harder I fall on my ass after slipping on a banana peel, the harder they'll laugh.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, it's actually just sitting in it. And I think I realized I can be funny by celebrating moments as well. Like I can be really funny just going like, yeah, I'm glad that worked.
Yeah.
Rather than just going, look how much I failed just then. Oh, look how much I just pushed you just then. And so that was really lovely. And I think it wasn't necessarily like fearlessness, but it was more just like I lit up a blind spot that I didn't realize was there.
It also sounds like more authenticity. Not that you weren't being authentic as before, but like bringing more of you and like being you. And, you know, you mentioned before that a lot of people feel they have to be a certain way. And it sounds like you realize that you don't need to be a certain way. You can still emulate other people, but your style of comedy is so unique, and that whatever you decide to do, it's still going to be really good and really funny. It's a big shift, especially from the start of the conversation, where I think you alluded to, you felt like your friends were saying you have to be this comedian or this comedian, but then that's kind of pushed you into this wonderful direction as well.
Yeah. And I think that journey of like, I feel like it's like that authenticity. I think I'm still at the beginning of,
interesting.
I think I'm still at the beginning of being my true self. I think there's like, to be able to talk like this on stage and still have them engaged, I don't know how to do that yet, but I would love to get to that point. It's that thing of like when you listen to podcasts, I hear this like rhetoric all the time where they're like, you hear a comic on a podcast and they're funnier on the podcast than they are in real life. And I'm like, I want to solve that. I don't do many podcasts, but I want to try solve that problem. I want to try reach that level of authenticity where it feels like I'm just talking to you in a room and I've completely hidden the performance.
First of all, I think you're on the path there, or you are on the path there. And second of all, that's like God level. That is a great aspiration, and you will. I don't know if one ever gets there. Actually, that's like that's the fun of it. Like aiming for something that's not 100% achievable.
Yeah, and even if I end up there, even if I end up there, I'm excited to know where my brain will actually be at that point, because I don't think by the time I end up there, I will not be aiming for that anymore. I know I'll be somewhere else. So it's just exciting.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
Okay. I speak your language as well. And also also another credit to you, you got success quite early on. I think in like 2016 you won this big Billy T award as well.
Yeah.
And often a lot of comedians, or even in life, when you achieve success so early, it can really derail you. And then when you have these inverted commas low points, it's really hard to deal with. And, a lot of people leave. And you still kept on going forward. There's a theme here. We've spoken about as well, like with COVID, and then you get taskmaster. But how unique that you love it. Like, can you explain to me, this is a funny way of saying, can you explain to me how that relationship with love has changed with the craft? Because, in COVID, I'm going back to this, you're sitting in it, but now like the way you're talking about it, you're lighting up, you're smiling, you're really passionate.
So just before COVID, I was in a space where I was like, I have to do a hard pivot. I have to do a hard pivot and I need to write stand-up comedy. And then over COVID, I was kind of dealing with the repercussions of it blowing up in my face and looking like an idiot. And so that's all I kind of sat with. And my initial reaction was, the moment I get out of COVID, I'm going to go back to writing jokes. I've had time to like sit in it. I'm going to go back and just write some jokes. And then I remember that pressure I put so much pressure on myself. I was writing material that I didn't believe in, but I was like, it's all right if I don't believe in it, because I have to nail observational comedy. It's a new craft. It's all right that you don't understand this shit. And then it got to about 4 weeks before opening the show at the New Zealand Comedy Festival. And I think that was the first time I properly surrendered. It was the first time I went, I have to just actually fucking look at how I feel and what do you actually want to do right now? And I looked at my material and I went, I do not want to do any of this. I want to be fun. I want to be surprising. I want to make a show that I want to have so much fun with. And I threw it all away. And during that time, I was also filming Taskmaster, and that just put my brain in such a weird place where I was so creatively like just firing on all cylinders, because it was like Taskmaster's like, it's a 10 hours a day of just sideways thinking, and you can feel the freaking plasticity of your freaking brain just so just 6 hour chewed gum, like just so malleable and so stretchy. And that was the show where I said to myself, fuck it. This show, there's no jokes. I'm not telling a single joke. And that was an interpretation. I had punchlines in there and all that kind of shit. Yeah. But I went, it's not about the jokes. And that completely flipped. And that was the turning point to having like a new style of stand-up. And that's when I went from shock to surprise. And then I got nominated for the best show that year. I got nominated for the Fred. And it's like, I'm fine with the nomination. Like, I was so fine, because it was like, no, I'd proven to myself, oh shit, if you just surrender and actually trust what you really want to do, and it's scary, it's fine. On the other end, it's actually going to be the best shit.
Oh, that you are a deep philosopher. I have nothing to add to that. That is brilliant. And it's a lesson for everyone as well. And also, I know you said not necessarily fearless, but I would say fearless and courage. 4 weeks before a comedy festival is, the time's ticking. And for you to throw your papers away and be like, fuck this, I'm going to be me, I'm going to surrender, I'm going to do I'm going to bring back the love, joy, play, and fun. Or you could have said, and there's no judgment whatsoever, you could have said, you know what, I will do that, but I don't have enough time. But 4 weeks, you went bam, smack into it, and you did it. That is crazy. Do you realize how crazy that is? I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Have that. courage.
And I think the thing that worked it and the thing that kept my brain so anchored, and I have to give him a shout out, is one of my closest friends. He's also a comic and he's also a writer. His name's Josh Davies. And he's someone I look up to so much for writing. I look up to his taste when it comes to joke writing so much. And to get like a cosign from him that it's a good idea, I know that it'll be a good idea. And I just remember during that 4 weeks of making the show, I had him sat there and I just kept pitching him, and I just kept pitching until the idea, he started laughing at the idea. It's like, because I know he will give me a straight face until he genuinely finds it funny.
Oh, that's great.
And I think that was the stand-up, that was the observational part that I kind of needed there as a direction, but I was able to filter my chaos kind of through him. And so I always go back to him. Like when I made my last year's show, he was the guy I came to over the weekend and just went, okay, here are all my ideas. And I just filter it through him because his writing taste is so good and I love it so much.
Okay, I'm very happy that you've got that as well. Has there been a bit of a journey with who you trust? Because you can't trust everyone. You gave the example of the 1 star and then the 4 star. Not everyone's going to get it, but it sounds like this guy sees you for who you are. Have you had to make kind of like a transition, or have you always known who you can kind of like trust? Because I think that's really important in creativity and life as well.
Yeah, so I think I trust people that contrast my style. Those are the people I put trust in because I feel like that gives me extra depth, and it goes to the blind spot stuff. So I like, I'll throw jokes at. I want the validation of people like Josh Davies, Ray O'Leary. I met a comic in Oz, Angus Gordon, and just being able to like throw my jokes at them and get their validation is like, it's so delicious. I love it. I love the validation of writers. Any kind of like tight writer that I can see is really concise. I'm like, I want your validation. I want to be able to keep up with you because that's the area I know that I need to like mentally put work into. The stunts, doesn't matter.
Did I say that again?
Oh no, the stunts don't matter.
Great journey. But it also sounds, it's not just the validation because you're also being authentic to yourself. If you just got their validation, but you didn't feel that spark within you, it wouldn't work. So it's a 2-tier approach. You're feeling something within you, and it's also great that they're, working with you and helping you in whatever capacity. I think that's also really important because you can get validation from people in many different ways, but if you don't feel that spark and it doesn't actually excite you, it's not, it
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I see it a lot like a crane game. I can only see it from the front, but if I get my mate to look at it from the side, they can help me really be a lot more exact. And I think it's fine. I think it's so fine to get your friends to help you write jokes. I think that's the key to getting great, is realizing that, hey, there's a whole cohort of people and collaborating. I'll give, I'll take, I'll give, I'll take. I think it's a beautiful relationship to have comics kind of help out. I think that's why New Zealand comedy is so amazing right now, because we all collaborate and we all work together.
Oh, can you tell me about that? Because I know many years ago, it's probably maybe more an Australian thing. People hated collaborating, apparently. People were very jealous. There was a certain amount of spots. People didn't like that. And now there's been a bit of a transformation here. But to hear that all you guys in New Zealand collaborating together, because there is also limited TV spots and all of that stuff. But it looks like there's this new wave of New Zealand comedians. I could probably name like at least 5 of them. And that's so exciting to hear that you guys are working with each other, not against each other. That's how you all grow and all get better. So can you tell me more about that?
I think it's all rooted in friendship. So I think from the outside, you look at it and you're like, oh, there are cliques and all that kind of stuff within the scene. But no, that's the gold. Everyone comes up together, and it's that iron sharpening iron type, or steel sharpening steel type thing, where you're just getting better at each other's craft. So what we would do a lot of I just remember starting out, do a lot of just going to cafes, and there'd be about 3 of us. We'd all have our notebooks out, and we'd all have the best intentions. Most of it was just talking shit. But and I think this all started out after hearing how New Zealand comics, Nick Rado and Ursula Carlson, used to write. So they used to have a process where they would have half an hour, and all the jokes said in that half an hour goes to one comic. And then after the next half hour, all the jokes go to that comic. And so you can use it as much as you want. And I think that really planted the seed of collaboration through comedians. And because I took that and I went, this is mind blowing. I didn't realize you could do this. And then it just kind of caught on. And so everyone now writes together, and everyone, we're always messaging each other jokes. And there's still that feeling of like, oh, I hate it when I say this punchline because my mate wrote it for me, but it's so beautiful, and you get a lot more than just the punchline. You get to see how they craft their material. You get to put your own lines up against their lines, and you get to see, oh, their line, I love their line and I want to use it because it's so much more concise than what I do. I need to start mirroring that, and it's so beautiful.
And as you said, that is beautiful. You get an insight into their brain as well. And also, you're saying with Ursula, and I forgot the other comedian you said. Nick Ratto. And are they literally writing jokes for each other and go, here, you can do what you want, and they're switching? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. So they would, from what I heard, they would, one comic would just throw out all of their premises and all of their jokes. I don't know. I'm just kind of getting together what I know, but they would get all their jokes and they'd just spend that half hour, and you would just throw as many jokes as you can and then just workshop it. A lot of it's like really conceptual as well. It's not like you're giving them straight punchlines. You're just giving them like new angles. It's that crane game machine thing again. You're just going, hey, have you thought of this angle? Have you thought of that angle? It never comes out as a direct punchline, but the new angle is something that can be kind of thrown to each other, and then someone says the punchline and you're like, that's it.
But even if they did, and I'm not saying they did, wrote the punchline, you've created this joke, or they've created this joke. There's a whole, it could be a few paragraphs, and then to go, this could be a better way of ending it. That's the beauty in comedy as well. They're still created the joke and done all the work. They're just like, you could just say this a little bit better. That's amazing. I love that. And also your style of comedy is different to Ursula's style of comedy. So she might have a joke that doesn't work for her style, and it's like, hey, David, you want this? And like vice versa as well. I love that as well. It's a very abundant mindset in a, go on.
No. Yeah. It's very abundant. And it's also it's just so nice to just have, because they're not necessarily going like, okay, here's a joke that I can't do. Maybe you could do something with it.
Yeah.
But it's more the idea of like, you just get to role play as your mates. You just get to be in their kind of headspace and kind of like right in their style. And that's super fun too. And it's also quite nice to know when a comic goes, no, that's not necessarily my style. And that's fine. Like it's so fine. But it also makes you realize, okay, I guess I'm like more the style compared to them, but that's all good.
No, thank you. And it also is like kind of a mirror to like what might work for you, might not work for you, seeing what, their mind as well. That's actually also really good. If, you have someone whose comedy is different to yours and that your styles don't match, it makes you look at your style more, and so you can improve as well. So
and you start to see where everyone's values lie. Like you start to realize, oh, their values are different. We all view audiences completely differently, but that's great. And I love that.
It's also good compassion for outside of comedy as well. I have a friend, and I don't know exactly, and he's a close friend. He's like actuarial stocks, sort of. It's like a unique thing. And he's sort of funny. Like he can be funny if he like carefully crafts a joke. I'm trying to like build his personality. But if I give him a script, he can get the script so much quicker than some of the other people I might get scripts to. He can just kind of, it's like data, like ones and zeros. He just looks at it and goes, that joke wouldn't work. I would put it over there because they said this and that's a great punchline. And he is brilliant. We have extremely different personalities, and the way that he can analyze like a script, because it's very hard, as you know, like there's emotional elements, there's like, which he might not thrive in real life, but when it's on a piece of paper, he's much quicker. Like I wish he could be a screenwriter. He would be a bit too hard to work with full time. But when he can read my scripts and he go, move that, do this joke's better, just straight away like that. And I'm trying to explain. He goes, no, I get it. Whereas other people don't get it necessarily in the space. And he's kind of a gift for the most part. He can be very difficult, and he knows it, because he can just, really help me and challenge me in his own way as well. And I love it. But we're completely different. And so
I love that. That's what a treasure. What a treasure to have.
I know. I've been nagging him to read this new script. I stopped writing actually for a while. I briefly spoke to you about it off air about, I've been writing, but I haven't been writing anything new. I've been wanting to get my scripts to the next level. But recently, I've just started a new script, and I've got this new passion for life, and I'm very excited. I don't know why I brought that up, but
Oh no,
kind of emulating what
I
you've been
was I
saying.
was really lucky a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months, like a month ago, I got to do a mock writers room, and it was so lovely. It was because that's something that I want to explore more. I want to get my writing better in terms of stand up, so go into other areas. And we had a couple of classes beforehand, like just some talks and stuff. I forgot who the writer was. Name escapes me, but she talked about how a writer's room, you get different kinds of writers who turn up, and she categorized them as there was structuralists. So they're like people who are really good at like obviously looking at the structure, kind of like what your friend was describing, where things should go to make it like satisfying. The other one was strand gatherers. They're people who are they're writers who are really good at seeing different moments throughout the script and realizing a connection there and then giving you more connections. And then the other one was disclosers. And those are people who are just good at yapping, and they've got so many stories and they've got so much material to kind of draw from. And it kind of gives you like a starting point. And she was talking about how like it's having a mix of different kinds of people in the room. And it's not about having just powerhouses in the room. It's about like getting the right mix of people. And I loved that. I loved that.
I'm going to write that down because that's really you. And it's also important to know, like, you're not necessarily brilliant in all three as well.
And you shouldn't be. You should be good at your one thing, and that's like where your value lies. And that's so fine.
What made you do this mock writers room? I want to do something like this. That's epic.
Oh yeah, it was done through I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that I grew up Asian. So there was a Pan Asian screen collective, and it was just one of the workshops that they kind of offered. It was so sick. And then after that, we got paired with an actual writer, like an actual TV writer, and they led a room. And so we had to do a mock session of writing the outline for season 4 of The Bear. And so it's just fun. It's just like, it's all make believe. It's all like role playing, but it's just so fun to have 3 days to just learn how to outline, how to like plot out a pilot, and just like seeing how it all works. You know, it was only one time, but like, love it. I love that kind of stuff.
I'm very proud that you had that experience, and you can see, if people are watching it, people can see and feel it. That's amazing. Of the 3 options the writer gave you, which one do you feel you lean more into at this stage?
I think I realized during the writer's room, I really enjoy, and I take this from my stand-up, I really enjoy contrast. So I noticed, I'm really good at noticing when it's been a certain vibe for a while, and then knowing when to switch it up. And I'm just going off my boredom meter. I'm just like going, am I bored? Switch it up.
That's so important, especially in this day and age. And yes, when we get one of my shows out there, you can join the writers' room. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you.
And
yeah, getting work.
You're like, okay, see you later. I got what I need. See you. Bye. Thanks, everyone. Before I forget, we're talking about your evolution of different styles and growth, and you've got quite a few shows in Australia coming out very quickly, or especially when this will come out. I forget where, but like Perth, Sydney, Melbourne for the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, somewhere else, maybe Adelaide. But anyway, people check it out. New Zealand as well. People check it out in the episode notes below, and buy all the tickets and actually go as well. Unlike those 3 people in your streamer where they felt bad, everyone's going, everyone have a good time. So the tagline, and I want you to tell me more about it, but blending comedy with rave, that is so unique. Tell me more.
Yeah, so I love dance music. I've used so much dance music in my shows previously. There's always some kind of element with music in there. Yep. I love other people's music. I don't like making my own music. I really struggle making my own music.
Oh, you can make your own music.
I can't. No, I cannot. I cannot.
Sounds like you can. And
I cannot make my own music. I wish I could. I wish that was a skill I had. But about 2 years ago, I was doing a show. I was doing a horror comedy show with my friend Hamish Parkinson, and halfway through, I got really into techno again, and I was like, I think I want my next show to be a techno show. But then I was too scared. It was the first time I had an idea where I was like, oh no, I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna
Yep.
just like rest this for a little bit. And then I did a couple of more shows after that. And this is finally the moment where I'm like, okay, I need to confront this fear. This is the
Epic.
scariest. I was walking just randomly down the street, and I had a feeling in my chest, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have not felt this kind of fear in so long. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a good thing. And then I got really excited. I was like, oh, I'm really scared. I'm really scared of this.
Amazing.
Oh shit, I gotta do more work. And then I started, working on it more. And so I'm gonna make a rave. I'm gonna learn this. I'm gonna spend next year learning how to DJ, and I'm gonna do it as a show. I'm gonna put on a rave. I'm gonna put on the best party that I can, and I'm also not gonna just try meme a rave. I'm gonna try do it earnestly and try make something I actually enjoy and have like my mates who are DJs enjoy it as well.
Okay, that is amazing. And also, you had the fear, you acknowledged it, didn't initially do anything about it, but you were still brewing, you had the ideas, and then you're like, that's it, I'm feeling it. You felt the fear and you just did it anyway. It was like you get up on stage. Like, how do you move forward after that?
I think it's like recognizing the fear and then also asking myself the question like, are you ready? Like, are you ready to do this? And then being honest with yourself and be like, no, I'm not. Okay, if you're not, do more research. And then research for me, and it's so great. I just get to go to raves, and it turns out it's like my favorite thing. And then I think over the last 2 years, I've been to like I've been up to like 20,
Holy
20 to like 30 raves maybe. I've been to, and I love them. I love them so freaking much. And now that I have that as a base of references, now I can go, yeah, I'm ready. I can recognize what's happening here, and I can recognize what I enjoy about them. I think I'm ready because I can now reflect that on stage.
Very crucial point as well. And, I'm guilty of this as well. There's fear, just do it. But sometimes you're not actually ready. You need to, do research, put in work, get to that stage where you're ready. I think that's really important because sometimes you can set yourself up for failure if you just don't do anything about it and you were just to rock up. It's very, very important what you said as well.
And that's the lesson that I learned from doing the hard pivot to just doing stand up. Like that's what that lesson really was. It was a lesson going, if you just jump in and you're not ready, you will get egg on face. Like it's not going to be a good time. Like it's all right. Shelve it, learn something else. Maybe after you learned that next thing, you might be ready that time. And I was right. Yeah. I feel like I'm ready now. The last show that I did, it was about learning about stakes. How do I add more stakes to my jokes? How do I did the journey to get to having to have the confidence to try put a rave on as a comedy show was learning in my last show. How do I stop the balance of, hey, I'm a comedian and I'm high status and you have to listen to my jokes and the audience is down here. How do I make that more even so that we're on at the same level and we're looking eye to eye and we're just connecting? There is no relationship of I talk, you listen. It's like, no, this is a flowing thing. And that was the missing piece to the rave because now I have the confidence to throw a party.
I love that. And, that's in the episode notes. People can check it out. Anything else on that is so unique. I think I saw in the thing that you were working with a DJ, or a DJ going to be there, or you are going to be the DJ.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be the DJ, but I also am getting like music producers and people that I really love. I want to play their music. I'm still in the ideas phase, but one of my ideas is I really want to bring just some of my favorite DJs and get them to do a set on stage while I'm up there. I don't know. I want this could not exist by the time I put it on, but one idea I have right now is I want them to play just 10 minutes of their most outrageous music and just experience it. And I want to experience it live and I want to experience it with everyone else,
Amazing. And how do you intertwine the comedy aspect?
So where normally when I was doing stunts on stage, there was always an element of music. So it's bringing the stunts back, turning them into games, but then it's about using the DJing to really blend the transitions so that it's tighter. I think this is going to be a lesson in getting really tight with my transitions so that I can have more fun. I just want it to seem seamless and organic the whole time.
You have the mind not only of a great comedian, but also as a great screenwriter. I've been just writing down words that you've said, like even like contrast and like tightness. All of these things are the tools for great comedy, but also great screenwriter as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been such a sick conversation.
No, your insights are profound. I'm very proud of you. I'm gonna listen to this on repeat like before bed. You know, like when you listen to those like mindfulness sleep videos, like you are abundant, you are amazing. I'm gonna listen to this.
Yeah, abundance mindset.
You have it. Take it. It is yours. Oh, brilliant. Before we do a rapid fire segment, I want to tie up a few things as well. This might have to be a part 2, but I feel like I have to bring up that you wanted to be a musician, and then that led to you. I think there's a journey. I think you did musical theatre, you didn't like it. Then you did acting, and it wasn't necessarily your cup of tea. You were a magician for a while. You're a powerlifter, and you represented New Zealand, and I think you're very close to representing for the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, Olympic weightlifting. Yeah,
which is crazy. And then you wanted to be a TV presenter. Then you tried all these things, and it's led to comedy. I don't even know what the question is, but let's actually ask about being a magician.
Yeah.
Do you still love it, and do you have a go-to magic trick?
Oh, okay, so I did magic. I was relentless. So when I was 15, there was a magic shop that was really close to the bus stop. And so I would go there after school and I would hang out with the magician there for like 2 hours, and he would just show me tricks. I just hang out in the magic shop, and I loved it. And I loved it because I loved the surprise. I think that's where my love of surprise comes from. And I realized that, hey, I don't necessarily like the technical aspect of magic, but I like the wonder and the surprise that magic can bring. And then kind of fell out of that and then replaced it with Olympic weightlifting. And I think Olympic weightlifting taught me a lot about like work ethic, and also like looking at a goal, like the long-term goals and the dips that you'll have. Like it's about like training so hard that you actually get weaker, but that's all right because you'll recover and you'll get stronger from that. And I think that just gave me a confidence with stand-up. Like it's fine if I kind of suck right now because I know in the long run it will pay off. And then after that, I tried to get into musical theatre school. That didn't work out. I didn't get my audition. They said to me, so I went to an alternative theatre course that was like a pre-tertiary course for acting. And then I realized there, I don't like learning scripts. I don't like saying other people's words. And that was the time I learned about performance art. And I think performance art was something massive for me because it made me realize, I can look at other aspects. It doesn't have to just be the words and witty. You can have sound, you can have a look, you can have like feelings, you can be spontaneous. It's not always about the performance. It can also be about the process. And I think mixing that just blew my brain away. And then mixing that in with the magic and all that kind of stuff, I feel like by the time I ended up in stand-up, it was like that was my skill set. And I look back like right now and I'm like, I'm so happy I went through all that. I didn't realize it was failing at everything else. And it was kind of like just stripping everything back until I got to the core and realized, stand-up gives me the most freedom out of all of the art forms. That's the thing I want to be.
Also, so great that you can see these other experiences as like stepping stones towards greater success as well, using skills like the work ethic of weightlifting, magician, the surprise, all of that stuff, the performance arts of how you can, actually perform in times 100. So nice that you can pick these skills and add. And I think that's what makes you a great performer as well, and a great comedian, is to add all these tools and to recognize this as well. I know that like previously, if I did something I wasn't good at it, I would just disregard and go, I didn't learn anything, I failed, I wasn't a great guitarist. But no, you're like, I actually learn certain skills that I can apply for the rest of my life or in this field as well. That's epic.
Yeah, because I think like a lot of comics are really neurotic and we all think a lot in very different ways. And sometimes you can't see how some versions of thinking, you see it very well. But I think my version of thinking where I get really neurotic is I reflect. I reflect a lot and I reflect a lot on like what were the things that happened there? Why did it happen that way? And I didn't realize that it was a strength until you just said that.
Well, it sounds like, even throughout this conversation, you may have not consciously known it, but I think you've known it all along. Like
Mm.
you can't do all of those things and not, be a great performer, comedian. I don't even, what do you call yourself? Are you comedian, stand-up comedian, performer? What's like the one?
Okay, here's the wanky answer. The wanky answer is I see myself as an artist because if I talk to myself and I call myself a comedian, I hold all of the culture around being a comic and I hold myself to those rules that come with the culture of being a comic. But if I call myself an artist, I can dip into everything. And yeah, so that's
That's not a wanky answer. That's a very holistic answer that you're more than just, the one thing, even though the one thing's quite large.
yeah, yeah.
That's epic. Is this true? I heard you talk about it, but I don't know if you did it or you wanted to do it. But did you spend a couple of years in a rural, performing comedy at rural towns?
Yeah, yeah. So that's just part of the comedy like circuit in New Zealand. So there's like the main cities where you kind of perform, and then you have the out of town circuit, which is like such a blessing. I caught it on my way up. I caught it when it was at its healthiest. But I that's where I learned like, oh, this is the hardest kind of performance. This is the hardest time to perform. You have to win over people who don't like you. How do you get that? How do you get them on board? And so that's where I became a really good stand up, was by doing all those gigs.
It also going back to like fearless, and that can be very scary because stereotypically I think of like a certain type of a demographic when you like think of rural towns and comedy, like they probably
Mm.
used to comedy a very specific way or what they've seen on TV. But for you to like do it for 2 years, knowing that it might be potentially hard at the start, but to learn and grow, and you said you developed into a great stand-up comedian through that. That's pretty cool because you could avoid that. I know you need money and all of that stuff, but to
Mm.
be excited by that journey, it's very unique. Was that what it was? Like, I just want to
Yeah.
grow, I want to learn.
Yeah, and it was also like I didn't get the part-time job. I didn't have any safety net, and so I was desperate and I was really hungry. And I feel like a lot of comics kind of picked up on that, and it was just, and it was not just the gigs themselves. The gigs were hard, and I'd learn from them, and I'd see other comics and how they would get it. It's where you learn. Oh, you need to have a strong opener. Oh, you have to like relax and really just talk to them. Oh, you have to have like these strong bits that you can like rely on to get there. You can't just fluff around and be like do something on stage and people engage with it. You have to win them over for them to engage.
Yeah.
But the real stuff that was so amazing was the long car rides that you would have with a pro comic where they would just give you all of their wisdom and all of their insight. And I think that's why I have this all now. I wanted to be, I look at those comics and I look up to them and I see them as mentors. And it made me realize, oh, I get to shape the comics that are going to come up that I work with. What's the version of the comic that I would love to see, like that I'd love to like learn from? And it was those kinds of comics, the ones that would just share their insights, share their wisdom, be reflective, and give that mindset to the next generation. And I don't know, I really treasure that.
Oh, okay. You said I've got nothing more to add to that. Brilliant. I'm glad that you had that, and I'm great that you learned not only from the comedy, like doing the actual performance, but having the experience with someone in a car for many hours. That's awesome. That sounds like so much fun. Like that's part of the job as well, just driving for many hours with someone that hopefully you respect and to give you wisdom as well. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you would have helped that person as well. So
Yeah. Oh,
good for
dude,
you.
it's like to like for the next gen to be just comedy nerds is so exciting to me. Like the next gen to be like, look, all the resources are there. All of the stand-up comedy resources are there. You can learn everything off YouTube. You can listen to podcasts. You can listen to comics talk about how they fail. Like there's so many different resources now to just tap that by replacing this attitude where you can't learn from books. Look, you're born funny. Replacing that attitude with like nerds and people that get fucking sweaty about it. I'm like, yo, I'm excited. I want that. I want to see comedy become that.
I love your enthusiasm. It's contagious. What we're going to do now is a rapid fire segment to wrap up the podcast.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. I've got so many. Oh, okay. We'll start with this one. What did you learn from being a quiz master or host?
I learned that you shouldn't drink 5 glasses of red wine while performing because you might come home and there might be a tree through your house.
Did I hear that someone would throw wine at you, or was it more you were drinking the wine? I may have misheard that.
Oh, no, I was just sculling red wines. Yeah, just sculling red wines on stage because they'd give it to me for free.
Very nice.
Get drunk on a Tuesday.
Did you, sorry, say that again?
You just get drunk on a Tuesday.
Classic Tuesday. And did you enjoy the experience?
At the time, yes. Now, no.
Go on.
If I was to do that again, no, I wouldn't enjoy it.
And what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the people that I surround myself with, and also that I live a life where I'm chasing internal validation rather than external validation.
Holy shit, that's profound. We get it. You're gonna get a book that we're giving you. You're gonna have to write the book, but I'm excited to read it. That's profound. What did you learn in Japan performing stand up?
I learned that performing in Japan is like performing in a fish tank where the fish are doing comedy about the room around them, but not about the fish tank. Which is really interesting because their audiences were all tourists. And so the comics, the only way you could connect with them was by talking about experiences that kind of happened in the first 3 days of being in Japan. Yeah. And so I was just like, wow, you really just like exist in this like pocket, and it's so beautiful. And all the comics were so lovely. I loved the comics there. There were like exceptions to the rule, but I feel like that was definitely like a new flavor that I liked, but it didn't represent what it was only happening there.
Yeah, well said. I'm not going to comment on them, but this is my last one on that. Would you go back?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, massively. Yeah. Love it.
Amazing. And I mentioned that you wanted to be a TV presenter. Do you still want to do that? And what drew you to it earlier on?
I do not want to be it. I do not have the drive to want that to be my end goal. I would love to do that as a job. Like, I think it's really fun. But I think what stand-up offers is what I thought TV presenting offered. And that's the freedom. I thought with TV presenting, you were just able to like chill and have fun in front of a camera. I didn't realize there was so much work and so much structure and so many moving parts that it's actually really, really stressful. And I would rather have the freedom of stand-up. And that's, yeah.
Cool. If money wasn't a factor, what would you be doing differently, if at all?
I would be traveling a lot more. I would be trying to, I'd be way more hedonistic.
Way more what?
I'll be way more hedonistic. I would be way more like just about pleasure and just having as much fun as possible and partying and hanging out with friends. Yeah, that's what I'd be doing. And then also doing stand-up. Yo, never stop.
Very nice. If you could gain any skill in the world, which one would it be and why?
Oh, it would be able to come up with sounds and music in my mind and then be able to put it onto a computer and then make it and be like the like Brian Eno, Fred again level type like bigness and sound. I think that'll be amazing.
It's like ChatGPT for your brain to just get it out and get it made.
Yeah, I'd love that. I would absolutely love that skill.
Same. I always think I can be like a great music producer. I'm like, oh, it sounds like this. And then when I say it out loud, it's like all out of beat. You're like, what the hell is that? So I also would like to invest in this technology. If you could have any superhero power, what would it be and why?
If I could have any superhero power, it would... if I could have any superpower, it's lame, it's lame, but I think flying would be no. I know what it is. No, it's ultimate muscle memory. I'd love to have ultimate muscle memory. I'd be able to look at something and be able to do it straight away after recognizing it. I think that's enough to not kind of like break the world around me. Like it doesn't make everything too easy where I get bored, but it also means that I can just do whatever I want.
That is the most unique answer we've had to that. Well done. Wait, did I say this? What could you do if you knew you could not fail?
What could I do? What would I do if I knew that I could not fail? Base jumping with no parachute. Yo, straight up.
Is that where? There you go.
Yeah, just jumping from a really big height and then landing on the ground. I reckon that'd be so sick.
It sounds like you want to ignore the rules of gravity and or be able to glide or fly.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. If I can't fail, yo, that'd be sick.
Any advice you want to give to people who want to try something different or new, but perhaps a bit fearful of doing so?
I think everyone sucks. Everyone sucks when they first start, and sometimes in life, it can help you develop skills that might make you suck less than other people, but everyone still sucks at the very beginning, and so it's fine. Yeah, it's fine to fail.
Well said. Last question before I ask how people can follow you and keep up to date with you. What is the one question I should have asked you?
Oh, was the one question that I think that I genuinely, dude, this is the most fun I've ever had on a podcast. All of your questions have been the questions I've wanted to talk about for so long. So there is no question that I wish you asked me. I think you asked all the right questions, and it's been so amazing. And I've loved every moment of this.
I am blushing. You are the kindest person. I've already written down a few points. So I won't repeat them, but you are a joy. And also, this has been this has been so much fun preparing. You know, I do a lot of preparation as well, and I just loved it. Because you're learning about someone, you're learning about their mindset, their views, like their life, and it's been such a joy to hear you. I know it sounds really weird, but the prep and the lead up as well was so nice, and my expectations. I never have expectations, but this exceeded anything as well. So you are an absolute joy. And
what were you expecting coming in?
I don't have expectations, but I just knew that it would be good. Like I knew I'd have fun. I knew I'd feel something like a positive emotion. That's kind of where I go. I don't have expectations in that regard, but yeah, you exceeded whatever feeling that I thought.
I froth these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, same,
I think it's in it, and I know how many people don't froth these conversations and how taxing it could be. So I understand, like, yo, it's so special to be able to talk like this.
Well, it comes, credit to you for coming to the table, for bringing it all up and discussing it, and your insights are really profound. Like, this is why I love doing the podcast, is because someone like you comes to the table and ready to explore and sharing ideas. I love it so much. If you talk about froth, froth's my favorite word. I love it. I froth it as well.
Yeah, frothing.
Froth is so good. Before we go, how can people follow you, keep up to date with you, and check out all of that stuff?
Yeah, all my usernames and all my links are at David Post Office. I'm mainly active on Instagram, but you can see, if you want to see my stuff, you can also check out on TikTok as well.
Amazing. Those are all in the episode notes below. Thank you. I've said it all, but what a joy. You are amazing. I'm excited for your, next path in your journey in your life, and especially this new comedy show. That sounds very exciting. And yeah, we're going to have to do like 10 more parts in the future. And thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for that, Michael. Thank you so much.
I love how David asked himself the deep internal questions and decided to make a positive shift. Often in life, it can be daunting or scary to look within and really question why we aren't achieving or doing the things we really want. At times, we are unable to see clearly, or we create barriers in our mind of how things need to be. But questioning our perception and challenging ourselves to what we want, what we really want, helps bring things into alignment. David made the courageous decision to look within and try new things within his comedy. Ultimately, the proof is in the pudding, and not only did he feel great about it, but he also got that wonderful comedy nomination. So I'll leave you with this epic quote. Our lives improve only when we take chances. And the first and most difficult risk we can take is to be honest with ourselves. Walter Anderson. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy.